But now, next game, North Dakota State, Colorado. I'm intrigued by this one. This one, it might be the one time that I bet Colorado this year, but man, you just see the big name at North Dakota State, and I know they're not the North Dakota State of old, and maybe that's why the line is what it is. But how do you feel about this game, Robert?
Yeah, this is interesting. It's down to single digits. Some people thought it might get under 7, and we're waiting on that. Some Colorado backers. It's how you feel about Deion Sanders, and he's very divisive in the football betting world, divisive in the football world. Last year, of course, went in and won straight up as a huge underdog against TCU. Took a Colorado program that had been awful for several years, but used to be one of the best college football programs in the country back to the 1990s. This will be sort of, we live in the transfer portal era. It was one of the things watching a lot of the other handicapping shows and a lot of the other sports prognosticators and in the press that I thought there was a lot of undervaluing this year, which is we're now in peak transfer portal era. And what that means is programs that are completely new, programs that have new coaches, a massive turnover. It doesn't mean what it used to mean. We saw it with New Mexico against Montana State. We saw it with Nevada giving SMU a tight game as massive underdogs, both of them only losing in the last minutes of the game. First-year coach can completely turn over a roster now and bring in a whole – it used to be a first-year coach taking over a down program. It would take them 2-3 years to get their players in so they could make a difference. Now they can go handpick guys that fit their scheme.
I like it this way better, by the way. I mean, I think I like I'm more for, player empowerment. And so the transfer portal and transfer rules, I like it. If they want to bring a bunch of guys, you want to get someone like Deion, very famous player. And then obviously a big personality wants to come in and coach a school like Colorado and then just transfer all the people that he can bring with him. Yeah, sure. Let's do it. Why wait a year or two?
And before you get into your take on the game, Robert, how do you feel about Deion and his clause in his contract that allows him to censor certain reporters? They've had the big story about the Denver Post reporter who can't ask him questions anymore and all this stuff. To me, this is kind of crazy. I feel like I love Coach Prime and love what he's been doing for the last couple stops at Jackson State before Colorado. But I feel like when you sign up for this sort of thing and you're a guy like Prime who's all in the media, beating your chest, doing all this stuff, that comes with the territory. And you get paid a lot of money. And all you got to do, you're answering questions on your football team. That's that man's job, too, to go into these press conferences, ask you questions, write articles on it and everything. You don't have to like what he writes. That's part of it. Not everybody's going to agree with you. But how do you feel on this? Should Deion have – because Paul Feinbaum's been pretty vocal about it, and I don't agree with everything Paul says, but I kind of do agree with him on this, man. I think it's kind of bullshit, really. And do you think Deion should have a clause like this? It's kind of foolish, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, there's obviously coaches that play favorites, and that sort of thing has always gone on. But to affirmatively shut out a reporter by contractual guarantee is kind of funny. It's a state university, so University of Colorado at Boulder. It's not a private school, so that raises a whole different subset of legal issues.
Right.
I think I'm of mixed sentiments on Deion. I thought Deion was good for the game in terms of last season, the excitement, enthusiasm, and he's the extreme experiment of transfer portals. Like we saw at Florida State 2 years ago, they hit on everybody, or last year, basically. They hit on everybody. They go undefeated. Mm-hmm. And everybody was assuming, well, their transfer portal worked for them last year, so surely it'll work for them this year. And I looked at some of the players from a talent evaluation perspective. I'm like, no, it's not the same level of player. DJU, if you watch him,
he can't figure it out, can he, Bob?
Yeah, he's just limited. He's a caretaker quarterback at this point in his college career. That's what he was really at Oregon State. When they needed him to win a game at Oregon State, he didn't win it.
He lost to my Cougs. I was there. I watched it. Guys,
yeah, he was in person for that one.
Exactly. So I think that, and that's my question with Colorado, is that it's so massive. I mean, he's turning over the entire roster season to season. It's one thing to do it in the first season, but then he did it again between season 1 and season 2. I'm not sold on his coordinator hires. I thought he hired a great one last year in the Kent State head coach. Then he spoiled on him because he didn't want his kid to get hurt at quarterback because, he didn't go get the offensive line he needed. We'll see how that Kent State offensive coordinator does as the head coach at San Diego State this season. But then he brings in, kind of NFL guys that are known for being on the more conservative side of the aisle. Like, he went in such a radically different direction. I honestly don't know what to make of how this will work schematically, but I think there has been a little bit of an overreaction. Colorado doesn't have proven depth. There is a big question about their transition with the new players, but it does at least look on paper that their lines, which were the big problem last year, offensive and defensive lines, are upgraded. I mean, last year he didn't even try to he brought in some Kent State guys with the Kent State offensive coordinator. Those guys were not going to translate to the Pac-10, and now he's in the Big 12. I think that works better for Colorado. The going to the Pac-10 never helped Colorado. They're always better off in the Big 12. And North Dakota State, as you mentioned, Will, is not quite on the same page. People see the name and they think FCS dominant team. They've been sliding now. It was one of the reasons why I bet against Montana State last week. Montana State's still good, but they'd actually been sliding down slightly. And also whether or not these FCS programs, these programs might lose more than they gain from the transfer portal. Right. Maybe they pick up some guys that want to play playoff football that are at the higher level. But like, at least with Montana State, they lost more of their key guys than they gained. North Dakota State might be in the same bucket. So I think Colorado, also all the negative talk about Deion, if he has any chance at all to run it up, he's going to. He wants Travis Hunter to be in the Heisman conversation. He wants his son to be in the Heisman conversation. These NFL assistants have got a lot to prove, and that's what they're given an opportunity to do at Colorado on both coordinator positions. So if he gets he's got a talent edge here. So I'll lean Colorado to win by double digits in this one.
Yeah, in this one, I think I'm going to tackle this one the same way I'm going to tackle the Alabama game. I don't know if Alabama is going to cover, I think, 35 against Western Kentucky, because I don't know what I'm going to get from Alabama's defense. I'm sure I'm going to get, a good performance, but you just never know. I'm just going to look at team total, because I know, like with Alabama, you bringing in that coach, they got all those weapons. They're going to score points. So I'm just going to look towards the team total. If I were to bet this one, I'd only look towards Colorado team total over, because like you said, they want to be flashy. They want to make plays. And let's say their offensive line is improved and they do cover this number, well, then they should get over their team total anyway. So I feel like that's kind of the safer route than trying to pick a side. Because Florida State's got me all worried about taking big favorites now after getting burned.
You got to be careful there with that. I mean, the biggest thing for me here is I look at Colorado was pretty beneficial when it came to and this is why y'all need the Phil Steele magazine, y'all. But pretty beneficial in the turnover margin last year. They were plus 11 in the turnover margin there. Teams with a positive double-digit turnover ratio have had the same or weaker record 73% of the time since 1990 right there. They got I think 4 wins last year. They got their win total sitting at 5.5 now. I don't think this Colorado team gets over that. They got what's listed as about the 13th toughest schedule in the country this year, and it just feels like they're going to have a tougher go at it. I don't think they did enough in the transfer portal to improve those offensive and defensive lines. That's where they really struggled last year. And if Shadir can't stay upright, he can't throw the ball down the field. He can't get it to Travis Hunter and do all those things. And I think you would look, when you've got guys like Travis Hunter, you focus solely on taking him out of the game plan there. And if you can do that, the team takes a drastic step back. So it's going to have to see what the lines are able to do. But I think overall, I don't know that it'll factor in as much against the North Dakota State team. But overall body of work for y'all, you still put your futures in and stuff like that. A lot of these teams have not kicked off yet. But I think I like you can get a little plus money on it right now, but I like Colorado to go under the 5.5 wins on the season. I just don't think they're going to benefit from near as many turnovers. And I know they have a lot of talent there, but there's a lot of inner locker room things that are going on that make me question stuff like that. And I still don't think they did enough on the offensive defensive line.